I have tried multiple times over the years to get into DC Comics. I'm fairly certain that the X-Men and Spider-Man animated series were kind of my training courses, getting me ready to someday read the comics. But the Batman animated series, which I openly loathed because it wasn't Marvel, but secretly loved because it's amazing, never quite got its hooks into me. I mean, I'm much more likely to try a Batman-related comic than any other, so maybe it worked, but not nearly as well as the Marvel stuff. The fact that I really became aware of the world of comics around the same time as the Marvel vs. DC event probably didn't help. If it's Marvel vs. DC, then I knew where I stood, and it was against DC. But as I got older, the internet got more pervasive, and then I became more aware of the behind-the-scenes stuff of comic books. Thus, I realized that Marvel and DC have more in common than they don't. Oftentimes, the very creators that I loved at Marvel did work for DC. I had just never realized it. So it was around 2005 or 2006 that I started poking around DC earnestly, willing to learn and try something new. I started looking at books around the same time as DC's Infinite Crisis event, but I didn't buy anything yet. When comic companies do these massive line-wide shakeups, it means new creative teams, new characters, and relatively easy entry for a new reader. I had also heard rumors online that Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman would temporarily disappear in the wake of this crisis, which sounded great to me. Look, I was experimenting, okay? Not jumping in whole hog. Some prejudices run too deep for an overnight turnaround, I'm afraid. Thus, I mainly looked to DC's weirder books. And, well, some were hits, many more were misses. Just as soon as I got into a book, the creative team would change, or the book would be canceled, or the character that I liked would be removed from it. Sometimes, even to this day, it feels like DC doesn't actually want my money. But I found my gems, and the diamond in the rough was called The Secret Six. There have been 4 volumes of Secret Six, the original having launched in 1968. They aren't consecutive, save for some vague plot points that I'll cover later. The version that we're interested in was introduced in 2005 and was created by author Gail Simone and artist Dale Eaglesham. Now, to be fair, I came into Secret Six when it was launched as an ongoing series in 2008, and that time around the main penciler was Nicola Scott. I honestly can't remember what caught my attention more, Simone on writing duties or Scott on art duties. Because let me tell you now, they kill it. While I had never seen Scott's artwork before, she won me over instantly. Gail Simone was someone I was much more familiar with, having read her Agent X series from Marvel in 2002. Simone has a unique talent for dark humor, broken characters, crazy action sequences, and she somehow makes even the darkest of characters enjoyable. Simone had also been the leading author on DC's Birds of Prey since 2003, and I had heard nothing but good things about it. However, Birds was like 100 issues in at the time, and that was more of a commitment than I was prepared to give DC at the stage of our relationship. So if Simone and Scott were on the volume that I was buying, why did I say Eaglesham co-created them up top? Well, and I only came to this realization as I researched this series of episodes, Secret Six was not launched as an ongoing series. There was a 6-issue miniseries of the same name before it, which I actually knew about and already had as part of my collection, but there was a 6-issue miniseries and a one-shot before even that. It's during this series that particular incarnation of the team debuted. That's right. I pulled out my 6 collection and immediately needed to pick up back issues. Sweet. Thank God for banked episodes. The Secret Six secretly debuted in Villains United, a 6-issue miniseries tie-in to the Infinite Crisis event. As far as I can tell, this is the earliest incarnation of the team, and as such, it's going to be our starting point. Now, if you're worried about this series tying into Infinite Crisis, don't be. The book makes total sense on its own, and I've researched any behind-the-scenes tie-in bullshit that might need explaining. I actually considered buying Infinite Crisis just in case, but it looks like that's a rabbit hole that would lead me down a whole nother collection of comics, and I just don't need that. It also doesn't impact on the 6 outside of what we're about to discuss, so to me, it's largely unnecessary. Don't worry. I'll tell you everything you need to know, because my name is Ben, and this is Comic Book Breakdown episode Secret 6.1, Villains United. The series begins with an invitation. A mysterious group of characters are contacting the various villains of the DC universe and uniting them. The super criminal community has learned that the Justice League mind-wiped a criminal by the name of Dr. Light, crossing a moral line. Anyone who agrees to join the society, that's with a capital S, thank you, will gain the aid of everyone else in the group along with their protection. We see people like Mr. Freeze, the Cheetah, Black Manta, Faust, and other lesser-known villains like Mr. Sands, Multiplex, and Fadeaway Man. We'll eventually learn that the recruiters form the core of the society and consist of Calculator, Talia al Ghul, Deathstroke, Dr. Psycho, Black Adam, and Lex Luthor. Even as a not fan of DC books, I'm able to recognize most of those names and am impressed by them. Talia is one of the most dangerous women in DC. The sheer power of Black Adam is enough to stand against Superman physically, where Lex Luthor is a threat mentally. Despite his silly helmet, Black Manta is a cold-blooded killer. I don't know anything about Calculator or Dr. Psycho, though, so we'll learn about them as we go along. As the recruitment scene wraps up, Fadeaway Man asks Calculator if anybody turned their offer down. Calculator smiles. Only the deranged or suicidal. Smash cut to the Mediquay Game Preserve in South Africa. Talia and Psycho look up at a man, maybe in his late 20s, early 30s, ripped as hell and barely dressed. Torn khakis, a water jug, and a knife are the only things on his body. 3 jagged scars run down his chest, then pivot to the side. His sandy hair blows in the wind as he looks down at the pair and answers, "No." Dr. Psycho can't believe this. No? Catman is telling them no? He can't return to the society with Catman telling them no. Catman doesn't care. Tell them whatever you want. He still says no. Talia remarks that she was told Catman was a buffoon. Dr. Psycho stands by that assessment and begins to threaten Catman. He can make him eat his own entrails, or stick his thumbs into his own eyes while dancing the lambada. So, okay, Dr. Psycho has some form of telepathy. Copy that. Catman is unfazed as he climbs off his rock. Maybe Dr. Psycho can do that. And maybe he can resist long enough to put his knife up through Psycho's jaw into his brain. And if not, his pride will take issue with his death. A male lion and 4 lionesses emerge from the tall grass, their eyes trained on the doctor. Clearly unnerved, Talia takes over for him. She says that they approached him incorrectly, but if they leave with his no, he will suffer. For a time, anyway. Catman understands, but he just doesn't care. The sun will rise with or without him. He turns to leave, the lions following. If they should see any poachers on their way out, he asks them, please skin and neuter them. Dr. Psycho, once Catman is gone, is shocked. They call him a psycho? But Talia is impressed. Catman has remade himself entirely, briefly reminding her of another great man. Psycho says that if he's that special, he'll have a chunk of him sent home to his mother when he's done. Simone does 2 things with these scenes. The opening recruitment scene shows us some of DC's biggest threats, establishing the power and the depth of the society. This will not be a group to be trifled with. Doing this adds weight to Catman's refusal. Even for me, someone who is totally unfamiliar with Catman, this tells me a lot. He is either totally indifferent to death, or he doesn't think he's important enough to warrant a response further, or he just doesn't care for these reindeer games. As the only character shown living outside of any form of human society, in the wilderness, it's possible that he has no interest in the shenanigans of the rest of the world. We can see that he's calm under pressure and possesses some kind of quiet inner strength. We are also told that he used to be a joke, so he's changed since his last appearance. Talia's comment on remaking himself makes me think that she's referring to Batman, a character that she's had a tumultuous relationship with. Given the similarities between their names, Catman/Batman, their similar costumes, and their history of building themselves from nothing, Simone is making us subconsciously root for this character by connecting him to a character we already like. The fact that he refuses to cooperate with people that we tend to label as evil and know to be at least criminals helps cement that idea. Penciler Dale Eaglesham is inked by Wade Von Grawbadger and colored by Snowcone. Eaglesham is a highly underrated artist. I've seen him on Cross-Gen Sigil and various books at Marvel, including Alpha Flight and The Hulk. He can draw seemingly anything, but maintains a fairly realistic style overall. Dr. Psycho's over-the-top facial expressions and body language sell his agitated state. Talia and Catman remain calm, taking each other's measure carefully. Eaglesham is also a great artist for muscular builds, giving Catman a body that any movie star would envy. While well-defined to the max, Catman doesn't look unrealistic, making the character impressive, but not cartoony. The art team made sure to work in flies buzzing around the sweaty brows of the cast, hitting home the idea that we're in the heat of South Africa. Snowcone even colors clouds into the shots of the planes, continuing to sell the setting. We don't enjoy that setting for long. The scene moves us to Gotham, where we see the core of the society react to Catman's refusal. Dr. Psycho paces around the table, mumbling his hilarious hypothetical revenge on Catman while the others talk. Deathstroke thinks that the refusal is funny, but Calculator can see the danger here. If one of the big names gave them trouble, sure, everyone would expect some kind of pushback from them. But Catman? How will the rest of the society react when a third stringer like Catman isn't brought to task? Black Adam, floating nearby with his arms crossed, shrugs. So we kill him. Simple enough. But Lex says no. That's thinking too small. Let them be gracious and not touch him at all. Uh-oh. If Lex Luthor has a plan for you, you are in trouble. We then move to the Amazon jungle. We're at some form of a camp watching a stationary jeep. Inside it is a woman in a business suit and a maskless Deadshot. The hitman leans back in his seat, blowing smoke rings casually. The woman speaks into a risk communicator, asking Cheshire to repeat her last message. Cheshire informs the woman, who is named Scandal, that they're under attack by Hive agents. Hive is a fairly generic terrorist group in the DC universe. Cheshire thinks that they may have disturbed the colony. Scandal doesn't care. She asks if they accomplished the mission. Did they plant the lozenge? They have not, and Cheshire suggests a retreat as a black and yellow Hive agent stumbles away, clutching his bleeding throat. Scandal suggests that Cheshire do her job. Mockingbird said no witnesses, basically saying that if Hive shows up, then kill them. Cheshire is glad to hear it and asks Fiddler if he's still protecting the delivery system. The Fiddler, well, he fiddles. Using magic through his violin, he can hypersonically control people, but it's not working on the Hive agents. Their helmets must be protecting them. Behind him, a technological orb hangs from a tripod, the lozenge that Scandal referred to. Cheshire makes her way back to Fiddler, annoyed at his uselessness, and calls in Ragdoll and Parademon. The pair fly in on a borrowed set of hive wings and get to work. Ragdoll, a thin, spindly-looking figure wearing an expressionless mask, grabs one of the Hive agents. Curling their limbs around the agent, Ragdoll squeezes until the agent is literally crushed to death. Parademon, who is a huge, muscular figure, snaps the neck of his target with ease. Spotting the now falling Ragdoll, Parademon streaks off after them, but it is too late. The Fiddler stands over Ragdoll's body as Parademon charges through the brush. As he arrives, he calls out for the clown in horror. Ragdoll calmly lifts their head, reminding the Parademon not to call them a clown. Cheshire finally arrives, confirming for Scandal that the lozenge has been inserted. However, doing so meant that two of the Hive agents got away and are headed towards Scandal. Cheshire would wish her luck, but why pretend that she cares? Scandal turns to Deadshot as laser blasts begin to land around them. Well, shoot them! Flicking his cigarette away, Deadshot pulls his mask on and with 2 shots, kills them both. One of the bodies smashes into their jeep, that's how close they were, but the pair are alive. As they join the others, the group checks their wrist communicators. All are green, except for the Fiddler's, whose glows red. Without any hesitation, Deadshot shoots him in the head. Scandal is surprised when Mockingbird isn't having them all killed for general incompetence. Deadshot calmly replies that they're gonna need a new warm body. We've now met the majority of our cast for this book and gotten our vague concept. A mysterious figure called Mockingbird runs the Six, whose roster is made up of 6 members. This is pretty much the only holdover from the 2 previous Secret Six series. Everything else is new to this volume. Simone does a great job of hiding character work in an action scene here. Scandal is the team's brain and is cold and clinical. Deadshot is detached even from the threat of death, preferring to finish his smoke before saving their lives. Cheshire balks under Scandal's leadership, making the suggestion to abort, and no move to aid her when the Hive agents head for her. Parademon and Ragdoll are friends, their interaction over the clown line coming out tired and pat, but it's a sign of a good friendship, not a bad one. A lot of books with this many characters struggle to give them all voices or distinctive traits, but Simone makes it look easy. If you couldn't guess, the new member of the Six is Catman. We return to Mediquay, where Scandal and Deadshot are in a makeshift bar with Catman. Scandal is kind of shocked that he said yes to their offer so easily. Catman pours himself another drink. He knows why they want him. They want to embarrass the society, right? Recruit the unrecruitable? After Talia and Psycho left, the society sent Deathstroke to his camp, and he killed Catman's lions. Commenting that he has no pride left, he's in. Despite that crappy news, that's some solid wordplay, Mrs. Simone. Before they leave, Catman hands a letter to the bartender to be mailed. The letter is addressed to Oliver Queen, known to DC fans as Green Arrow. That is interesting. On the plane, Scandal says that the society now has over 200 members. With the addition of Catman, they now have 6, which I only bring up to show what the odds are like here. The plane lands, depositing us at an old manor house. This is the House of Secrets, both a mystical location undetectable to technology and a cute nod to an older DC book named as such. It's basically something akin to a haunted house, but the name makes it a perfect base for the Secret Six. They waste no time with introductions. Mockingbird has a mission for them. There's some great interaction between Cheshire, Catman, and Parademon here. I want to just kind of read you the whole scene because I love it, but honestly, just go buy the comic. Seriously, this book is great. The scene amounts to dismissal and threats from both parties, with Parademon reading it as flirting, his own life on Apokolips drastically different from our lives on Earth. Anyway, a massive screen flashes to life, displaying a figure of static. The only defined traits Mockingbird has are his tiny brown eyes. Mockingbird goes on to explain that, for all of their skills, they have accomplished nothing of value. And now the society will be hunting them on top of it. But together, that doesn't have to be true. They can destroy the society. They'll be feared, respected, adored. They can have whatever it is that they want. Cheshire stands, refusing. She doesn't mind working for pay, but she has no interest in doing the work of others. She'd have joined with Luther if she wanted to jump through someone else's hoops. Mockingbird then goes on to explain that they don't all just have something to gain in this alliance. They also have something to lose. In Cheshire's case, it's her daughter. Mockingbird has injected a small explosive into her, just enough to cause a bleed in her brain. Despite her callousness towards, well, everyone in the book, Cheshire actually looks horrified at this. Mockingbird has done the same with everyone in the group, too. Whatever you treasure most now belongs to Mockingbird. But don't focus on the negative. There are great rewards to be had as well. The screen changes, displaying each member of the Six and a continent as their reward. For those who survive, the rewards will be great. So, anyone want to leave? That is a great start to a book about a bunch of murderers. Even as uneducated as I am in DC lore, everything made sense and flowed well. The cast is varied and interesting and likable. Everyone is decently fun, even mostly unlikable people like Dr. Psycho or Cheshire. When the Fiddler got shot, I actually felt bad. It's not his fault that the Hive agents were protected against his powers. Simone sets the stakes for failure high, but then sets the stakes for success even higher. And pitting this group of B-list villains up against a group of A-list villains casts them as heroic in this light, even if they're going to be doing it for revenge or glory or personal gain. I was originally hesitant to pick up Villains United, perhaps fearing that it would be too buried under Infinite Crisis plot points. But so far, no, it reads well on its own and really made me remember why I love Simone 6 to begin with. The book is like slipping under my favorite blanket after an exhausting day. It just feels good. But sleep does not come easy that night for the Six. At the start of issue 2, someone sneaks through the House of Secrets. Deadshot hears the sound and investigates, discovering Catman is in the kitchen. Deadshot holds a pistol to his throat. Catman presses a knife to Shot's throat. They greet each other. Thomas Blake for Catman, Floyd Loughton for Deadshot. Blake explains that he was outside, walking the grounds and taking in the night. Loughton says that doesn't sound suspicious at all. The pair go back and forth for a little bit, trying to out-tough guy each other, but it's Blake who breaks the stalemate. He's going to make some eggs and throws his knife away, sticking it in the wall. If Loughton wants to shoot him before he's fed, then so be it. Who kills someone before they've eaten? As Blake prepares the food, Loughton sits down and lights a cigarette. Blake asks if Loughton ever met Mockingbird, and no, he hasn't. Scandal recruited him, saying that it would be a good way to spit in the society's face. Blake points out that Mockingbird never responded to anything the Six said, almost as if it was a pre-recorded conversation. Loughton suggests rather skeptically that one of them could be Mockingbird. Blake replies that they don't know. They're putting their lives in anonymous hands. Just outside the kitchen, Cheshire smiles in the shadows. Blake adds that he's just thinking about the future. As we move forward into the rest of the Secret Six series, you'll find that the friendship between Catman and Deadshot is a constant. They will disagree, and they will fight each other, but they also trust each other more than most anyone else. This scene starts to sow that seed, with Blake choosing to trust Loughton. He not only surrenders his weapons first, but then shares his concerns and suspicions with him, but not the others. If Loughton is Mockingbird, then Catman just tipped his hand. But that's a calculated risk, one that Blake is willing to take. I read an interview between Gail Simone and John Ostrander, the co-creator of Deadshot, and Ostrander said that Deadshot is not a psychopath. He has emotions, he just detaches from them in order to survive. We saw his lack of fear with the Hive agents in issue 1, his lack of compassion for the Fiddler, and a lack of tact in how he talks to women. When he and Blake have weapons to each other's throat, he isn't afraid of dying because he chooses to not be afraid. Blake, on the other hand, isn't afraid of dying because he knows how unimportant he is to the natural world. But neither will gain anything from killing the other, so they don't. This simply complicated relationship runs the life of the book and consistently keeps things interesting. Elsewhere, Scandal sits in bed, typing a love note to her beloved. Ragdoll and Parademon sleep, although Parademon lies flat as a board, arms crossed. Parademons, for my fellow newbies, are the cannon fodder of Apocalypse, a hellish homeworld of the villain Darkseid. Everything on Apocalypse is war, pain, and suffering. And Parademon's lack of a comfortable position shows this. He is asleep, sure, but he is not at ease. Blake and Loughton have continued to chat, now discussing their kill methods. Blake likes to face his enemy head-on, like a man. But Loughton thinks that's dumb. You're killing someone, whether they know it or not doesn't matter. One to the back of the head is kinder. Kill the body before the brain even knows about it. Blake smiles at this, offering to let Loughton walk in front of him on missions. Loughton then asks what happened to Catman. He used to be a fat joke last year, beaten by Green Arrow for like the 100th time. But look at him now. And out of all of them, he's the only one with no leverage held over him. He volunteered to be here. Why would you do that? Blake plainly states that he won't talk about what happened regarding his change. But as for why he's here, Deathstroke killed his lions on Luther's orders. So now his friends are Catman's enemies. Scandal interrupts breakfast. They have a mission. Before we get into that, though, a few things. Simone lays out perfectly the philosophy of these two men, and despite both being okay with murder, why they're different. That difference will try them repeatedly, but they also understand it enough to respect each other. I don't like this bit about volunteering, though. Catman didn't volunteer, and he made his interest in revenge clear, and he's going to be rewarded if this goes well. He is being compensated, just as the rest are, but Loughton makes it sound as if Mockingbird has no leverage on Catman. But there's nothing to indicate that. Mockingbird never listed what they have on each individual member. It feels like Simone is trying to give Catman a reason to stand out from the group, like he's something special, but it's ultimately unnecessary and rather ill-fitting for this moment. I'd also like to say that Eaglesham makes Deadshot a bit too built for my tastes. Catman has been living on the arid plains of South Africa, and Parademon is a death warrior from another planet. I get why they're ripped. But Deadshot is primarily a gun guy, not a hand-to-hand combatant. Yet he's huge, sporting muscles that would make Arnold in his prime jealous. It just feels out of place to me. The six suit up and board their plane, Parademon calling shotgun for Ragdoll. Scandal informs them that they're going to Gotham and Deadshot balks. He wants Luther, not the Bat. Parademon, meanwhile, threatens Catman out of his seat so that Ragdoll can sit there. Scandal goes on to explain that there is a ship carrying Thanagarian weapons, space weapons, basically, that are very likely to end up being used against the Society's enemies, meaning the Six. They are to steal those weapons. Deadshot points out that this kind of cargo has to be guarded, but Scandal brushes off his concern. The Society is large and arrogant. They would never expect this kind of assault. As she explains the details, we beat the Six to Gotham and learn that the Calculator is listening in. Deathstroke is impressed by this, but Calculator doesn't take the credit for the bug. He says that perhaps a disgruntled family member did it, which I don't understand. No one in the Six has been shown to have family associated with the Society, so hopefully this will get explained. Talia states that she has control of the Hive. She'll send them after the Six and then end this. Simple. Luther doesn't agree, though. The Society is about making wise decisions, not impatient ones. They need to send a message. Dr. Psycho suggests some disturbing thoughts for Catman, but Luther turns to Black Adam instead. No, what they need is a display of unity here. He suggests a plan. One that we don't get to see yet, because we're at the docks with the Six, the pouring rain making their trip miserable. As they pull up to their target, Catman remarks that there's something weird about this rain, but he can't quite place it. The Six board the ship like pros, downing what few guards there are. They check the hold, and it's empty. They call Scandal. This is either a bust or a trap. She agrees, ordering the team to retreat. But they barely leave the ship when Weather Wizard appears, happy that they made it. If you couldn't guess, Weather Wizard can control the weather. There's your suspicious rain, Catman. And he's not alone. A 2-page spread reveals 17 supervillains standing against them. I can only recognize Cheetah, Knockout, Weather Wizard, and Killer Frost, but that doesn't really mean much. The Six are numbered at least 3-1. Scandal tells them to run. Catman agrees. He puts on a pair of bladed knuckles, these wicked-looking claws. If they need to fight, then fight to kill. He'll slow them down until then. He shouts at the Six to go, and they take off, Cheshire not understanding the sacrifice. Deadshot explains that he's facing the enemy head-on, I guess. Like a man. Or an idiot. Catman takes a moment to reassure himself that he's ready, and then he unleashes a snarl and dives into the Society squad, slashing wildly. He puts up more of a fight than anyone, but the numbers eventually get him. His scream of pain as Cheetah claws his back catches Scandal's attention. They can't leave him. They have to go back, Scandal demands. Deadshot says no, they're leaving. They get back to their jeep and start to head for the plane, but Weather Wizard and Dr. Polaris catches up. Dr. Polaris controls magnetism, blocking all of Deadshot's bullets. They drive the jeep off the road and detonate it, catching Parademon in the explosion. Ragdoll is the only one to maintain consciousness, but the Society closes in. This bad night is only just beginning. This scene continues to highlight Catman as more heroic than the people around him. He bravely sacrifices himself to save his allies, despite not having shown any combat skills until this point. I love his little psych up right before the fight, too. He's badass but scared, and he does it anyways, knowing that he could die. I also think that Simone and Eaglesham do a really good job taking a group of characters who are almost just silly cannon fodder and present them as an actual threat to the Six. The dramatic lighting, the intelligent use of skills and powers, it all makes the society seem more dangerous. Great stuff. The issue ends with Catman awakening in a doctor's chair. Sporting a pair of star-shaped glasses, the crime doctor... Lots of evil doctors in this book. Like, it's just a plethora of doctors. Like, who keeps sending all of these crazy people to crime school in the DC universe? Greets Blake. Blake is gagged and restrained. Even his eyelids are pulled open. A collar circles his neck, a small syringe attached to the side. If he strains against the collar, the needle will pierce his skin and inject a deadly strain of botulism. You know, just to be safe. The doctor then injects a drug to heighten Blake's pain, but also to fight off unconsciousness. Questions and pain are Blake's new reality now. At least, they will be until the doctor calls in another patient. He then assures Blake that he will talk, and he will suffer. The doctor turns on an electrical device, and small flashes of electricity jump between the prongs of it. What is his group's intentions? How much do they know about the society? Who is Mockingbird? Given that I started collecting/reading Secret Six almost 3 years after this story, I know the identity of Mockingbird. As such, I've been keeping my eyes open for clues, but honestly there aren't many. Every member of the Six has been suspicious, which would automatically cause me to write them off as possibilities. They're just too obvious to be candidates, like the first suspicious person in a Scooby-Doo episode. It's never that guy. But Simone plays the mystery well, giving us some minor reason to doubt almost everyone. Ragdoll and Parademon are still largely background characters, and I doubt Parademon's ability to be this cunning. But the other four are a serious possibility, and the real culprit even shows their hand a little here. There's a twist that I'm eager to reveal, but it's one that I could have never guessed. It's part of what makes this story so clever. Even if you figure out who Mockingbird is, you're still going to be wrong. That does leave the matter of who the traitor is. Not only was the Six's plane bugged, but their mission was a trap as well. Now, that could mean that Mockingbird set them up. Scandal tells us that they received the job and intelligence from him. Or it could mean that Scandal set them up, and she was just lying the whole time. See? Lots of possibilities, but little confirmed as of yet. Issue 3 opens with the Six still imprisoned and being tortured. They are rotated out, and the crime doctor says that he will be asking questions. When he remembers to. Everyone is worse for the wear, save for Parademon. Used to life on Apocalypse, he laughs heartily, enjoying the pain of the torture. Once done with Parademon, they cycle back around to Catman and continue working. A small group of the society sits nearby, their muscle on hand in case anything goes wrong. Just for the sake of specificity, I can recognize Knockout, Killer Frost, and Weather Wizard. There are 2 others I don't recognize, but they're all enjoying a game of Metropolopoly. Knockout grimaces at the scream, sick of hearing them. Killer Frost finds them soothing, actually, but Weather Wizard suggests that it's supposed to unnerve them. Sure, they're mainly there to guard the Six, but their group is also supposed to witness what happens when someone does the society wrong. He points out that Catman just put 4 of them in the hospital, so he feels no remorse. Man, Catman wasn't joking around with that last stand thing. As Cheshire goes through round 2, we visit the Six in their cell. Ragdoll asks if the plan is to be slowly tortured to death, because they would rather not. Scandal doesn't understand why they're going through the trouble of torture to begin with. The society has access to telepaths, their minds would be like an open book. Then Catman points out that they're a deterrent. This is what happens when you cross the society. Deadshot says that it sounds like Catman broke. Did you break, Blake? And Catman scowls over his shoulders, offering everyone a deal. No one asks that question again. This is Simone continuing to highlight Catman as the more heroic figure. Any one of them could break. Supervillains are kind of known for turning on each other, right? It's why stuff like the Society never lasts for long. The type of person who rejects human society's rules and expectations for their own is selfish. They aren't concerned with others, just themselves. But Catman basically orders the team to trust each other. If they doubt one another, one of them will end up breaking. Only by trusting each other will they survive this. And that's something that superheroes do. Elsewhere in Gotham, Black Adam protests the torture. He finds it to be a coward's tool and demands that they stop it. Luthor talks him down a bit and then reveals something that they've discovered. He displays the lozenge from issue 1. It is explosive, capable of delivering a radioactive, modified natural toxin that would irradiate a 2,000-mile area for hundreds of years. And the Society has found a second one, 7 miles from the border of Black Adam's Kahndaq. There may be more out there, and so the 6 must be interrogated. Black Adam seems to buy this. This is where my first theory started to develop. I never believe anything that Luthor says. He's a businessman turned criminal, turned politician, turned criminal, although maybe he never really turned away from being a criminal. He can outplan and then outsell most people on the planet. This whole presentation is just too neat. Where is the second lozenge that he mentions? Why did no one tell Adam about this earlier? And why would the 6 bother with Kahndaq? To mess with the Society, maybe, but they're more about killing the Society directly, not in hundreds of years from now. But they did plant the first lozenge. We watched it happen. They did appear to plant it in the middle of nowhere, but who knows why, and we haven't been told jack about it. So my first theory about who Mockingbird is that it's Luthor. My thought here is that he's playing both sides. He hires the 6, the only criminals who are not part of the Society, to be his personal agents. Any action he has them take can then be sold as justifiable reason for the existence of the Society. This unites a generally ununitable cast of people together, cementing the reason for the Society. It would explain the bug on the plane, the ambush at the boat, even the lozenge, which Luthor states has stolen LexCorp tech in it. It'd be perfect. While Scandal goes through her next round of torture, the 6 begin to break. Not to the Society, but to each other. Loughton explains that Mockingbird threatened to level the neighborhood where his daughter and her mom live. Ragdoll's father and brother were triple-jointed, but he was dreadfully normal. So, over the course of his life, he's had his joints replaced with fully rotating, self-lubricating implants. He's more pliable than they could have ever been, but his skin would tear off with a regular move. He needs a special chemical to keep it stretchy, and Mockingbird gives him just enough to last a day. But no more. Cheshire refuses to talk about her daughter, and Parademon is just sleeping. Then the screams stop. Catman, thinking quickly, goes to Cheshire. The Callers inject a poison, yes? And that's her life, isn't it? She's all about killing people with poisons? So start thinking. As the wheels begin turning in her mind, Scandal is returned to the cell, and thanked for her service. She looks to be fairly unharmed, and so Deadshot charges her immediately. Why are they thanking her? What did she say? But Catman jumps in here, defending her. He says that the Society doesn't want the 6 defeated. They want them splintered. And then he's back in the chair again. As the Doctor prepares his shock stick, Catman talks to him. The wild is made of scavengers and predators. But the Doctor isn't a predator, is he? No, he picks over the bones that are left behind. Or he could be from the third category. He lets the Doctor lean in close. He is prey. Catman suddenly extends his legs to the limit, tapping the collar against the shock stick, shorting it out. Using his teeth, Catman tears through his wrist restraints and is loose in seconds. It doesn't take long for the Doctor to start screaming after that. Catman then secures the 6's gear and gets their collars off as well. As he enters the cell, a freed Cheshire kisses him. While the others gear up, Scandal touches base with Mockingbird. He's relieved to hear that they're alive. They are to return home immediately, by any means possible. Deadshot asks if anyone wants to just leave, and no one is. The 6 launch into an attack on the Gaming Society, downing most of them quickly. Cheshire notably breaks Weathered Wizard's arm when he threatens Catman, which is kind of sweet. Another trio of society members shows up, and Scandal pounces on the leader, a woman named Fatality. She tears her ear off with her teeth, and when Fatality demands it back, replies that she swallowed it. In 3 panels, the newcomers are brought low by Scandal's ferocity. She turns to Deadshot and states that she did not betray them. As the room settles, Deadshot watches the defeated villains. He doesn't like owing Catman, but Catman says they're fine, don't worry about it. From behind, Cheshire wraps her arms around him. When they're back at the house, he is going to give her something, a process that he will enjoy. She then moves on, wanting to send the society a message. They need to start killing people. Catman says otherwise, and Deadshot agrees. One will work. He shoots Hyena in the head and turns to the rest. They are to tell their bosses they're already dead. They just haven't fallen down yet. While this is one badass ending, and for the most part I dig it, I have one complaint. Catman shouldn't have been able to escape. I'm fine with his method for shorting out the collar, that works fine. But he had a leather strap over his chest that's like 5 inches wide. There should have been no way for him to bend over far enough to bite at the leather around his wrists. The return attack is fine, enjoyably brutal now that Surprise is on the other foot. I'm glad to see Scandal do something finally other than play go-between for Mockingbird too. I have to admit that I'm a bit annoyed at how many characters walk away from this. While, yes, we are given reasons why neither side kills the other, it also reads as dangerously stupid. I can understand why superheroes let villains go, they're trying to be better than their enemies. But these characters are all murderers. Why is no one murdering? Or at least murdering more? I mean, it's just practical. Now, these society dopes are going to get back up and probably have a problem for later. We're shown Cheshire, Ragdoll, Parademon, and Deadshot casually killing Hive agents. Why not these guys? And yes, Catman has done a lot to garner the Six's trust, but to leave them in danger like this? I don't know, man. I'd have killed all of them except one. Let that guy take word back. The main reason that these dorks survive is because comics need their cannon fodder. Sure, Simone can get away with killing Hyena, who gives a crap about that guy. But the more villains you kill, the less toys you have to play with, and DC has a lot of writers sharing those toys. Placing this story here is also good planning on Simone's part. Like the Vegas trip in Deadly Class, the torture sessions have forced a bond of shared trauma between the Six. They have shared personal information, too, further cementing their alliance. Keep in mind, this is only the second time they've really seen Catman in action, and he definitely earns their trust here. While I hesitate to say that Catman is becoming the leader of the Secret Six, they generally don't take orders well, no matter who is in charge. He is kind of the front runner here. Remember my theory of Luther using the Six to unite the society against an enemy? Simone does the same thing here. These characters typically fight for themselves, not for the greater good or grand cause. It's the whole reason Luther has to continually manipulate the society. But now the Six are bonded together as a unit and have an interest in defending their own. And moving forward, that will not be easy. Oh, I forgot to mention that issue 3 is penciled by Val Semix. His style is generally similar to Eaglesham's, so it actually took me a good chunk of the book to realize that something was different. Other than some 2 huge pectorals, the book continues to look pretty good. If you're going to get a fill-in artist, this is how you do it. Eaglesham returns with issue 4 and immediately starts us off with a neat panel bordering trick. We start the issue at Enclave M, a special adjunct holding facility. It's basically one of many prisons in the DC universe for supercriminals. An inmate, who is Jack of the Royal Flush Gang, which is a card-themed group of thieves and killers, has information for the warden. The warden listens, and this guy goes on a long rant. The basic gist of it is that the society, Jack's friends, have been in the warden's house. They've seen his wife and his cute daughter. Seen the cute little horsies on her wallpaper, too. And if Jack isn't released today, something just terrible might happen to them. The flying cards that the gang rides on, they can cut a human in half. Even cute ones. And that's just to start things off. Soon, Jack's friends are going to ask the warden to open the gates of the prison, and he better get comfortable with the idea. All of society is about to change, man. This scene could easily devolve into a pair of talking heads. It would just be so easy to do that. But Eaglesham frames the panels with prison bars, our scenes trapped inside of them. This not only speaks to our location, but highlights the scenario that Jack and the warden are in, trapped, one by prison bars, the other by threats. We find the six in Brazil. It actually took me a minute on my first read through this to realize that their costumes are all colored black, stealth technology keeping them off the Society's radar. They are about to storm one of the Society's facilities with the intent of hacking what they can and destroying the rest. Scandal fills them in on the area. When she's pressed as for why she's so knowledgeable, she calmly replies that she's from here. Catman offers to let her sit this one out, but no, she replies, stripping. She'll go. She finally puts on her costume, armed with bladed metal braces. She says that they've been in her family a long time. They're called the Laminas Pesar, or Lamentation Blades. Glad to see you finally get in on the action, Scandal. In Gotham, the heads of the Society are reacting to the Six's declaration from last issue. Dr. Psycho naturally wants them dead, but both Calculator and Luthor argue otherwise. Luthor points out that many of their recruits have aggressive, sometimes psychotic reactions to authority. The Society cannot become that authority, or even be viewed as it, or their very recruits will turn on them. Talia interrupts with news that their newest recruits are here for their introductory meeting. Luthor greets them, notably unimpressed, and Talia informs him that recruitment is down after the incident at the Gotham docks and the Six's escape. Despite most of the Six being relative unknowns, many of their potential members don't want Cheshire or Deadshot looking to kill them. Plus, a few memorable big names have turned them down, violently, like Manhunter, Creeper, Man-Bat, and Bane. As Luthor ponders this, Calculator interrupts. They've got a blip on security in Brazil. Could be nothing, or... Luthor asks Talia to call Black Adam. They may need him. The Six, meanwhile, have found their way in. Ragdoll stretches as we peer out of the sewage drainage pipe. This shall be Ragdoll's aria. Ragdoll climbs through the toilet, surprising the Hive agent that was meticulously washing their hands. A dripping, twisted, terribly foul-smelling Ragdoll declares, "Magnificence." A short while later, Ragdoll informs the others that the charge is set. A large explosion rocks the facility, alerting both Queen Bee, the leader of the Hive, and the Society. Luthor tells Black Adam to take everyone available and transport there immediately. Drones rush to the newly detonated opening, preparing to defend their queen. There's this awesome moment where Catman stands in the breach and greets the drones. Then he backflips, revealing Deadshot right behind him. Shot can't even see past Catman while he's flipping, and he still opens fire, downing a Hive drone with each shot. I don't get the Hive. I've always assumed that they were like the DC equivalent of Marvel's AIM. They're both basically B-themed terrorists for hire. But these drones seem pretty dedicated to their queen, who doesn't care one bit for them. Talia orders her to retreat, stating that this is going to be a slaughter. But the queen shrugs, indifferent. They're drones. Their whole thing is to die for the Hive. How the hell do you get that kind of loyalty out of a thug for hire? Anyways, the Six shoot, stab, crush, slash, or break their way through the drones. This gives Scandal time to hack their computer and discover their plan. Namely, to wipe the minds of every hero on Earth. Deadshot is okay with this, but Catman isn't. That would leave the Society as the most powerful force in the world, and that's good for nobody. That's when Parademon charges Catman, upset at Ragdoll getting blasted during the fight. Deadshot tries to pull Demon off, but the big man slams his head into Shot's nose. Then he drops to his knees, grief overtaking him. On Apocalypse, there is no humor. Given that Parademon is one of many artificially created soldiers in Darkseid's army, created with no purpose other than murdering others and dying, they generally don't have much personality. And while Parademon is the least developed member of the cast so far, he has been inappropriately hilarious throughout these issues. We've seen his strange affection for Ragdoll a few times, but we've never really gotten a reason. This scene delivers on that, deepening our connection to Demon and Doll in a way that's clear, efficient, and effective. I also think that it shows one of the interesting dynamics of the Six. This is a group of characters who will, eventually, be comfortable killing in defense of each other, but also be cool with killing each other if circumstances demand it. Deadshot and Catman were just about to go at it when Parademon interrupted, but Deadshot jumps to Catman's defense immediately. You don't really get that in any other team book. Ragdoll, however, is not dead and confronts Parademon with the knowledge that he was going to replace that collarbone anyways. Cheshire then informs the group that she's found the power source. When the Six investigate, they find two people, one female, one male, held in some kind of huge tuning fork, bristling energy surrounding them. We can't tell who they are from here, but Catman states that the guy can level a continent on his own. Wow. Cheshire suggests that they leave now, but Scandal says that they're too late. Black Adam is arriving now, and he's got the Royal Flush Gang with him. They need a plan immediately. The group runs options for a second, then Deadshot suggests something. Black Adam and the gang rush in, prepared to defend the energy source, but they discover that he's free. The power source is Firestorm, a DC hero with atomic powers. He can fly, he can blast, he can manipulate radioactivity, he's got a fire head. He's legit dangerous. And he ain't happy. As the Six retreat through the Brazilian jungle, the base explodes. Back at the House of Secrets later on that night, Cheshire and Catman are relaxing after a round of sex. Cheshire is curious about Catman. He was once considered a fool, but here he is with many of the Six listening to him. How did that happen? So, Blake starts talking. He wasn't always a joke. When he started out, he had advantages. He fought Batman to a standstill once, but as time went on, he just got worse. He abused anyone weaker than him, including women. Then, after being beaten by two particularly frustrating criminals, he changed his mind. Blake went to Africa and killed his old life. Here, his money was useless. As he puts it, he traded up. Then came Deathstroke. He was collecting water when he smelled tobacco on the wind and heard the helicopter blades. By the time he got back, his pride was dead. He begged for Deathstroke to kill him too, but he didn't. Evidently, even then, he wasn't worth killing. Cheshire relishes being told this, claiming to now know all of his secrets. She knows about his letter to Green Arrow from issue 1. She knows that he shows mercy to their enemies. He wants to be one of them, a hero, to be respected by men of virtue. Cheshire kisses him on the forehead. Now she has to decide whether or not to kill him for it. Blake takes this pretty well, not even bothering to open his eyes. Well, okay, so if you know all of that, why is she here in bed with him? She smiles. Because she wanted him to give her a baby. And it's a creepy shot when she says so. Eaglesham constricts her pupils to points, giving her eyes a manic edge. And she has a thin smile, her cheeks emphasized, which gives her lower face a slight skull-like effect. This is the most information that Blake has shared about his past so far, and it's a bit of a mixed bag. It's vague enough that we don't really need to know all of his past adventures, just the general idea of it. He's shown driving a sleek cat-themed car, a physical demonstration of his former wealth, and are told that he once fought Batman, one of the premier hand-to-hand fighters in the DCU. Then, as time went on, he found himself amounting to nothing, reduced to crying at Green Arrow and getting beaten by Monsieur Mala and Warp. So he rebuilt, throwing away his past as neatly as Simone has. And Cheshire also picks up on his heroic tendencies, the only one in the book so far. Why she wants his baby, I'm not sure, but I'll admit that Blake is physically handsome, and in this incarnation, his transformation is impressive. Luthor's response to the potential loss of the Brazilian facility makes me doubt his likelihood of being Mockingbird, though. I don't know how the Society got hold of Firestorm, but losing him as an asset puts another powerful hero back on the board. I can't see Luthor being okay with that. One small thing before we move on. This is the first issue where Scandal debuts in costume and is armed. And I'm not sure why. It could be that Simone knew she'd be juggling a large cast, and so debuted Scandal as an innocuous, unassuming aide for Mockingbird. But now, as we've gotten a firm understanding of Catman and Deadshot, and slightly more depth to Parademon and Ragdoll, we can afford to focus on her more. I like her costume. It's sleek, it's sharp, she has a very ninja-like look. And the lamentation blades are tight and foreshadowed in issue 2. When Scandal is typing a message to her beloved, the blades can be seen hanging on a display on the wall in the background. Nice touch. That means that this slow burn was intentional. It could mean that Scandal as a character only now feels personally involved after being tortured by the Society, or perhaps she's only just feeling comfortable with the rest of the 6. We may never know. Okay, you know what? Actually, this is the last thing about this issue. I explained back in Comic Book Breakdown episode 2 how comic book covers are solicited 3 months in advance, sometimes way before that particular issue is even being worked on. So the cover for issue 4 has the whole team on it. It's a great shot by J.G. Jones, and Scandal is there in costume with some changes. The cloth covering her mouth is gone, and I can see some type of jagged tattoo under her right eye. Her blades look a lot different, much less compact and plausible. The design is too close for Jones to have winged it. So are these differences just artistic license? I mean, there are differences in Parademon and Cheshire's costumes on the cover versus inside of it, so it's possible that this is just Jones's interpretation. Does this mean anything to us as readers? No, probably not. But it's the kind of detail that just sticks out to me. So there. Issue 5 starts with Catman tackling Monsieur Mala out of a window. Mala, by the way, is a talking telepathic gorilla. You might shrug at that, but gorillas are extremely dangerous, armed with powerful fangs and strength enough to crush a man. Give one of those reasoning abilities and the power to read your mind, and that is a threat. This threat also has a history with Catman, so his zealousness is fitting. The 6 are in Texas, at a company that is a subsidiary of LexCorp. Scandal and Parademon go to their own mission, while Ragdoll, Cheshire, and Deadshot back up Catman. Cheshire actually tells Deadshot to give her a bullet so she can coat it in something nasty. Mala's jaw stretches wide as he holds Catman still, ready to bite, but then a single bullet tears one of his ears off. Ouch! Scandal and Parademon pass easily through the Society goons that are defending their computerized target. It's during this that Scandal admits that they aren't here for the Society. They're after Mockingbird. That's interesting. Scandal needs help hacking the computers, so she turns to Demon. He said that he has a way in. Parademon then pulls 10 mother boxes out of his jacket. A mother box is a sentient piece of technology in the DCU, created only on the worlds of Apocalypse and New Genesis. On those worlds, they're fairly common and can do almost anything, it seems. On Earth, they're basically god boxes, capable of doing almost anything. The fact that Parademon has just been carrying these around is pretty alarming. Catman and Ragdoll rejoin Cheshire and Deadshot, who are keeping goons off the final third of the 6. One of those goons tries to knee Ragdoll in the crotch, but Ragdoll shrugs it off. He had that bothersome thing removed years ago. Deadshot says that Ragdoll is one disturbed freak, but God is he committed. Ragdoll headbutts a goon and thanks Deadshot for the compliment. They check up on Scandal and Demon. Scandal devised some transmitter chaff to block Mockingbird's surveillance bracelets. They've got maybe 5 minutes before they're live again, so Deadshot tells her to grab the Society's file on Mockingbird so that they can bounce. She does, but it's encrypted and embedded with a self-destruct code, so they're going to have to examine it later. Cheshire tells Catman that Deadshot seems very fond of giving orders. He's okay with that. Deadshot is the one person on this team that he trusts. She responds that she knows something that Catman doesn't, but she'll hold on to it for now. Other than giving Catman a chance of redemption against Mala and the reveal of Demon's mother boxes, the big kicker here is that the team is turning on Mockingbird, which actually brings up a thought. How does this situation with Mockingbird work? We're shown that the 6 do have bracelets in issue 1. At the end of the initial Hive mission, one turns red, signaling the death of the Fiddler. But it was Deadshot who killed Fiddler, not the bracelet. Does the bracelet just allow Mockingbird to track and talk to the Six, but nothing more? Couldn't they just, take them off? When the team was captured, none of them have a bracelet on, and as soon as Scandal gets her, she calls Mockingbird. What is the relationship here? I thought Mockingbird was keeping the Six in line by threatening them in other ways, not with death. For one of the central conceits of this book, I'm afraid I just don't understand how this works. I'm assuming they suspect that the boat job was a track by Mockingbird, but they did a whole nother job last issue. Why not try to track Mockingbird then? They were at a society facility, hacking it anyways. Why move against them now? And if they only have 5 minutes of chaff to protect them from tracking, then what's the point? Mockingbird would have been able to know where they were anyways, right? It's not like they just teleported to Brazil. In Gotham, Lex Luthor is meeting with some special allies. He tasks the Fearsome Five with the retrieval of someone, but we don't learn who yet. Another operative is handling the other acquisition, which is good because that guy creeps Calculator out. Vandal Savage interrupts. Savage is probably one of the few people as dangerous as Luthor in the world of manipulation. He's actually a caveman. Or he was one. An irradiated meteorite increased Savage's intelligence and life, making him seemingly immortal. He's a great tactician who's amassed an enormous fortune over the course of his life. Savage also isn't someone who likes to be dismissed. He tells Luthor that he's quitting the society. He won't explain why, and orders Luthor not to contact him again. Then he leaves. Talia shows up afterwards, bearing good news. Several of Gotham's villains have agreed to join, but she's worried. They have all of these recruits because they were afraid of the Justice League brainwashing everybody. But if the League has or does stop doing that, their ranks will turn on each other as they have before. Talk isn't enough for these people. They need action. Luthor agrees. If the League will not accommodate them, he then displays an image of the Six, they'll create their own boogeyman. Wait. So did this just confirm my first theory? That Luthor is using the Six to unify the society? Does that mean that Luthor is Mockingbird? I mean, we haven't seen any indication of that otherwise as of yet. I'm just conspiracy theorying here, but it feels like it. And what is up with Savage here? He's had nothing to do with anything in this book, so why bring him in here? Does this have something to do with a different comic in the crossover? It's possible, I suppose, otherwise this feels random. The next page hits this point home. Remember the other person that Luthor needed kidnapped? It's Lady Quark, a superheroine from an alternate Earth. Earth 6, apparently. She's being hunted down by Sinestro, who is classically a Green Lantern villain. Ruthless, cold, and armed with an iron will and his own ring to create constructs of light, Sinestro does indeed capture her. Her fate is never brought up again in Villains United, instead moving over into Infinite Crisis. It's only one page, so it's not that intrusive, but it does bother me a bit that we get no explanation or closure or even an editorial note that leads us to the crisis. This is a bad way to write a tie-in, but given that most of our focus here is on the Secret Six, my perspective might just be off. In fact, I kind of feel that if I was reading this as a tie-in to the crisis, I'd be annoyed at how much time the Six are getting over the Society and their machinations. After all, the Society are the big-name villains, those are with capital letters, who are about to embark on a plan to affect the entire planet, reshape society, and destroy superheroes. Why wouldn't you want to focus on people like Luthor, Talia, Deathstroke, and Black Adam? Thankfully for me, though, I am reading this for the Six, so I'm not really bothered. Let's get back to those guys and gals. The Six return to the House of Secrets, Cheshire clinging onto Catman's arm. She teases that she's hungry, possibly to feed his litter, but Catman isn't having it. He says flat out that he won't let that happen. When she asks him what he means by that, he tells her not to start knitting booties. Wow. Given that this group is up against some of the most dangerous people in the DCU, and Simone's treatment of Catman up to this point, he really does have a heroic vibe going on. But he just threatened to kill Cheshire and his baby if it comes to that. Blake might be more heroic than, say, the Joker, but he's no hero. Deadshot then wraps an arm around Catman's shoulder, eager to see that fight. As the group disperses, Scandal tells the others that Mockingbird wants them in the boiler room in 15. Shot comments on how well Scandal takes to the leash, and she glares at him. He does not know her. Deadshot takes the hint and changes tactics. He needs to talk to her about something and asks if he can see her tonight. Flustered, Scandal kind of declines. She brings up Mockingbird's summons again and leaves. At the Society's tower, the heads of the Society are meeting regarding the Six's presence at the Houston facility. Everyone is sick of letting these idiots mess up their plans, but Luther defends them. He believes that someone is using the Six. There's no way that these fools could outsmart them. But the Society is a democracy. Or so Luther has been saying, and the eyes have it. Deathstroke volunteers to lead the assault team, ordering Calculator to get him people that will leave an impression. Talia's phone beeps. The Fearsome Five are back. They present Pariah, who can sense a world's future destruction and teleport to that place. He's actually the guy who saved Lady Quark when Earth-6 was destroyed, but now the Society has him. He tries to warn the others of Luther's ambitions, but Lex cuts him off. Pariah warns him. He thinks that he's this world's apex predator, but there's worse out there. And he won't survive it. Speaking of surviving it, let's see if the Six survive Mockingbird's wrath. They know that the Six stole data regarding them, and they are not pleased. So let's see whose life they're about to ruin. But Catman stands up with a counteroffer. Mockingbird wants the Society dead, yes? So let the Six attack them head on, a suicide run. If the Six survive, they walk free from all attachments. And then if they die, so be it. But their families remain safe. Scandal backs him up. If he killed their loved ones, the Six would be useless as assets. Better to have them die trying and then just gather a new Six. Mockingbird pauses, and then agrees. Then the screen goes black. There's a brief pause of the Six going their separate ways, contemplating their fate. Parademon eats out of the garbage, amazed that something like humans can make such delicious food. Ragdoll is keeping him company. Deadshot knocks on Scandal's door and enters, ready to talk. Scandal tells him that she's a lesbian, but he isn't there to sleep with her. He knows that she's real good with computers, and he wants to set up an email to his daughter, just in case he does die. As he approaches her desk, he's shocked to find a picture of Vandal Savage on it. Yes, she replies, that's her father. And she'll help set up his email. Well, that explains why Vandal left the Society. He heard about them capturing and then torturing his daughter. But is this the disgruntled family connection that Calculator was referring to when we learned the Six's plane was bugged? I can't see a man that was willing to turn against the Society over the safety of his daughter also betray that daughter to the Society. So who did it? The mystery remains. The scene with Deadshot is cute. Scandal's expression when Deadshot enters the room is quiet, one of tired frustration. Then he sees her father, one of the biggest villains in DC, and asks for a favor as a father. Up to this point, Deadshot and Scandal have had a pretty contentious relationship, constantly sparring verbally. But here they connect, the daughter of a supervillain and the supervillain father of a little girl. Unfortunately, the moment and Scandal's computer monitor are shattered as Catman slams Deadshot's face into it. He begins to repeat Deadshot's perspective on murder. It's kinder in the back of the head. Take the brain out before the body knows it's gone, yes? He's explaining why he sneak attacks Deadshot and how cowardly he thinks that this tactic is. Think this is quick? Think this is painless? Think again. Deadshot tells Scandal to get him a gun, but Cheshire stops her. Catman goes on to repeat the story of how his pride was killed, him hearing the chopper, smelling the cigarettes, the whole thing. But Cheshire knows Deathstroke, and he stopped smoking. Blake even recognizes the scent of the cigarettes now, and it's the same brand that Deadshot smokes. Scandal has a hard time believing it, but Deadshot doesn't deny it. He shot the cats. Catman slams him against the wall, prepared to kill him, but alarms suddenly go off in the house. Scandal checks her laptop, and they are surrounded. Catman tells Deadshot that they aren't done. But for now, they need to get the Six together and make a plan. That's when an all-too-calm Cheshire reveals that she's the one who called the Society. A 2-page spread reveals an army of supervillains, at least 25 strong. There are some old foes like Weather Wizard still sporting his broken arm, which is a nice continuity piece, Black Adam and Knockout, along with some new faces like Deathstroke, Dr. Psycho, Solomon Grundy, Amazo, King Shark, Monsieur Mala, Scarecrow, a new Fiddler, and Ragdoll's father. Cheshire is so calm about this that it's infuriating. Deadshot reminds her that by betraying them, Mockingbird might kill their kids. Cheshire will not continue to live under the heel of some man, and she isn't worried about her daughter. She looks at Catman. Soon, she'll have a replacement. This is as good a time as any to examine Cheshire for a minute. We've gotten a lot of screen time with Catman and Deadshot, although I'd argue that Catman is our lead out of the two. Shot also has the added background of being a former member of the Suicide Squad, so to DC fans, he's a fairly familiar quantity. Ragdoll and Parademon are mostly played as the comedic relief, and Scandal is distant yet honest, her true goal's a mystery. So what does that make Cheshire? She tries to flee from harrowing situations, as shown in issue 1, more concerned with her own survival than the Six's goals. She's threatened everyone in the cast, save for Doll and Demon, I believe, often muttering behind other characters' back. She's the only one who wants to kill the Society members after their escape in issue 3, and now she used Catman to get pregnant in order to have a backup child in case Mockingbird kills her first one. Everything about Cheshire is self-serving, manipulative, and like the poison her claws are tipped in, she's a slow burn. Out of everyone here, Cheshire is the villain. We've seen genuine moments of trust or friendship between everyone, save for her. The closest that she's come was starting a relationship with Catman, but this reveal changes that dynamic. And even when other characters had cause to kill each other, they put that aside for the good of the group. But Cheshire doesn't, betraying the Six to save herself. It's kind of an amazing moment for the character, as terrible as it is for the Six. Before I move on to the next issue, how did Cheshire know about Catman's letter to Green Arrow? That was mailed in Africa. Only Scandal and Deadshot approached Catman. Cheshire was nowhere to be seen. Nor has Catman told anyone on the team about it, so that person couldn't have leaked it to Cheshire. So where does this reveal come from? Does she have someone poaching Oliver Queen's mail just in case? The reveal is meant to highlight how much power Cheshire has over Catman. His secret's vulnerable and known and adds some tension. But she doesn't out him, so the power play is pointless, nor does knowing about it make much sense. That just leaves the tension of the immediate scene as the only reason for it, and given that we end on that note, the tension fades pretty fast. Perhaps issue 6 will elaborate on her mail fraud scheme, but I doubt it. I think this is just going to be a plot line that haunts me. The Six are suitably rattled by the betrayal of Cheshire and the army out front. Except for Parademon. He's eating a sandwich. Deadshot continues to threaten Cheshire, who is really unaffected by it, and Ragdoll asks if maybe they should be preparing for war? Because the villains outside sure are. Deathshot reminds his forces that this is kill only. No one gets out of this except for Society members. Dr. Psycho, dressed in his finest, claims Catman for himself. Mala lets out a pointed exhale, and Psycho amends that order. Blake is his and Mala's. Deathstroke orders Knockout to lead a team through the front door. Most of these people aren't soldiers, but he knows that he can count on her. Inside, Cheshire continues to play games. She asks Catman if he's okay with Deadshot killing her and his new pride. Catman caves, ordering Deadshot to back off or he'll kill him. This is an interesting turn, as Blake seemed fine with killing Cheshire if she was pregnant last issue. Was he just talking tough there, or did that pride come and get to him? Scandal tries to call Mockingbird for advice, but he doesn't respond. They're on their own. In Gotham, Luthor is vexed to find that his spy satellites have been hijacked. Calculator shows him an image, a kind of electronic calling card. I recognize it as Oracle's symbol, leader of the Birds of Prey. I'm assuming that this plot point is more of an Infinite Crisis tie-in business, but the loss of the satellite does force Luthor's hand. If he wants information, then he'll get it the old-fashioned way, by torturing Pariah, who dangles from the ceiling in a high-tech device. Cables of all shapes and sizes are plugged into his torso, neck, and face. Uh-oh. The Six are still fighting each other when we return. Catman argues that they are all about to charge into the situation anyway. If Cheshire lives, at least then that the baby does too. He also points out that Deadshot did all of this to protect his own child, playing off of his fatherhood. Still angry? Deadshot lets her go. But if he sees her again, he's gonna shoot her. Cheshire exits the house through the front door, announcing that she's unarmed and allied with them. Deathstroke confirms her identity through his rifle scope, and then shoots her in the chest. The Society doesn't need traitors. In Gotham, Luthor begins talking to Pariah. Pariah knows that there are other worlds, other possibilities out there. He knows that there is another Luthor, too. But Luthor knows that, claiming to be this other Lex Luthor. Pariah is shaken by this. It seems that no one knew that Luthor had been replaced. This Luthor knows that the original is in hiding, acting under the name Mockingbird. So, if you were with me guessing that Luthor was the one manipulating the Six, congrats! You got the name right, but bet on the wrong Luthor. Yeah, we're technically right, but we're also technically wrong. I didn't see this coming. I mean, there's no way that we could have known going in blind. If I was more familiar with some of the characters involved and probably more of DC's history, I could maybe have guessed, but I'm not. So this was a great twist for me. It was totally unpredictable. Pariah tries to scare Luthor, suggesting that the Six might tell the Justice League of his mind-wiping plan. Luthor isn't rattled, though. First off, the Six are going to be dead soon. And secondly, the Society has something different planned. And Pariah can see it. He can see the damage that Luthor will do. And he can see his betrayal, too. Luthor thought that might be the case. That's something that can't leave this room. And neither is Pariah. Luthor presses a silenced pistol to his torso and pulls the trigger. The Six's fight for survival finally gets going. Giganta tears the roof off of the house, literally, while Talia fights Scandal. Catman and Deadshot face off against the new Fiddler, who goes by the name Virtuoso. Despite holding their own, Catman knows that this isn't going to work. They need to find the leader and kill them. Deadshot agrees. Ragdoll and Parademon, fleeing Giganta, run into Solomon Grundy. As Doll says, "Oh, good heavens." In a red-tinted location, we see Lex Luthor, our Lex Luthor, the Mockingbird in this story, spying on his counterpart. He doesn't know where this Luthor imposter came from, but he isn't impressed. Let him play Dark King Arthur. Lex wants to play billiards with the universe, which, oh my god, that's such a great line. He then goes on to explain that he realized how futile it would be to kill all of the superheroes. Once they were gone, the villains would inevitably come for him. So he built the Six to splinter them and counteract their numbers. Catman is familiar with Batman's foes. Deadshot has history with the Suicide Squad. Parademon knows more about Darkseid than possibly anyone else. Ragdoll grew up with connections to the Justice Society's enemies. Scandal is connected to Vandal, who even Lex admits might be the most dangerous man on Earth, after himself, of course. And Cheshire is feared by all, although the foes of the Teen Titans especially. They've played their part perfectly, too, eating up so much of the Society's time, resources, and focus. Those lozenges that Lex had them plant, they were meant to be a move against Ra's al Ghul, Talia's father, and indicate a far longer plan. Ra's is practically immortal, rising from death again and again. But if the planet is ruined, what world does Ra's have to rule over? Then Luthor went and made a deal with Cheshire and spoiled it. Lex dons his trademark battle armor and is fired out of his submarine base. Luthor may have won this round, but he will pay for taking Lex's place. Whoa, okay, that's a lot to process. I've been working under the belief that the Six were put together as a response to the Society, and I suppose to some degree that's true, but in truth, they were his weapons against the various villains of the DC universe. That's kind of crazy, but awesome. And even more, this version of Lex rings true to me even today. Lex Luthor has been a big part of Scott Snyder's run on the current volume of the Justice League, and he still feels like this. That line about billiards with the universe still applies to Lex, and it's great to see such a core element carried forward over a decade into the future. That does leave us with the mystery of who the other Luthor is, so here's the deal. I won't go into the full story because it's definitely more of a Crisis thing than a Secret Six thing, but I think that some basics are warranted here. This replacement Luthor is Alexander Luthor Jr. from an alternate Earth designated as Earth 3. He is the son of Lex Luthor and Lois Lane. When his world was destroyed, his parents sent him to Earth 1, where the main DC books are placed. Alexander then helps to warn Earth 1's heroes of the Anti-Monitor, a space god, basically, who was destroying realities. He was also instrumental in leading the gathered heroes and villains against the Anti-Monitor. After the fight, Alexander and 3 other people with no place in the multiverse retreated to a paradise dimension using the last of his powers. While there, they watched as Earth 1 became harder and darker, its heroes much more willing to cross moral lines than before. With his 3 allies, Alexander breaks through the barriers of time and space, returning to Earth 1. They all then embark on a multi-front war against the forces of Earth, culminating in the main events of Infinite Crisis. That explanation either got you hot and bothered like it did me, or turned you off faster than my TV when Fairly Odd Parents comes on. I might still look into Infinite Crisis. This seems like the kind of crazy that I love in my comics. Talia and Scandal continue to trade blows while Catman and Deadshot fight their way forward. Ragdoll asks Grundy if he might remove his mask before dying, revealing his gaunt, scarred face. He asks Grundy what he sees, and the big man replies that he sees a monster. And that's right. So aren't they actually on the same side? Rolling a natural 20 on his charisma, this works for Ragdoll, and Grundy unleashes on 3 saps who walk into the room next. Talia finally stabs one of Scandal's arms, pinning her against the floor. She brags about knowing everything that Scandal could do, and then a fist slams into her face. Scandal had a mole in the society, and it's revealed to be Knockout. The redhead gingerly picks her beloved up, apologizing. Scandal told her not to interfere, even if her life was in danger, but Scandal is relieved that she did. Having killed Pariah, Luthor exits the room and is grabbed by Vandal Savage. He's there to request something of Luthor, his threat made clear by the knife in his neck. Deadshot steps outside to face Deathstroke. Shot has a debt to pay. We get a panel of Catman's dead pride, and he figures that killing Deathstroke will keep him from killing the guy that Deadshot owes. Deathstroke doesn't get it, but they open fire anyways. Ragdoll's father drops out of the shadows, wrapping his body around his son's neck. He's disgusted by him, but he doesn't get to say much. Parademon grabs Dad and viciously pounds him into the floor, shouting that no one touches the clown! They are then joined by Catman, just in time to face Black Adam, Scarecrow, Amazo, Weather Wizard, and Eyeback. Catman asks if Parademon is ready to go down fighting, and no, he's not. He tells them to run and then pulls out his mother boxes. He sets them all to self-destruct, sighing in relief. He's dreamed of dying like this. Does he mean in general? Or does Parademon mean dying like a hero, protecting his friends? Leave it to Gail Simone to add one last layer of touching character development before blowing someone up. The explosion shatters the House of Secrets. Catman and Ragdoll burst through a window. They're alive, but Eyeback survives the explosion and runs outside as well, managing to land a powerful blow on Catman. Deathstroke and Deadshot seem unaffected by the explosion. Shot makes the other guy an offer. They both step out from behind cover, then they shoot. Neither of them can win this fight, so they might as well both lose. Tired of listening to Deadshot's talking, Deathstroke agrees and the two shoot the crap out of each other. I'm not sure that their costumes are bulletproof. I know that Deathstroke has a healing factor, but to my knowledge, Deadshot is just a guy. Blood pools beneath his body, 5 shots having landed on his chest. In Gotham, Vandal explains that Luthor's thugs are attacking his daughter. Either they stop, or Luthor does. A small smile creeps over Luthor's face. He's willing to deal. So the assault is called off. The 6 are free. Well, the 5 are free. If Cheshire is still alive, she leaves with the society. Black Adam isn't happy about this, but he does as he's ordered. He finds Catman bandaging up Deadshot and tells them that they're free. Deadshot apologizes to Catman for killing his cats. In the remains of the house, Ragdoll finds Parademon, who asks him for a joke. Ragdoll replies that he doesn't know any jokes, he's not a clown. But then a thought hits him. He points out that Demon is missing 3 limbs and is about to die while having never had a home or a name for himself. Parademon laughs at this and passes on. Mockingbird then contacts Scandal, despite having shattered her communicator at the start of the issue, and lets them all off the hook. There were never any implants, he also explains. The Six's families are safe. They did fail him, but they get to live. A little while later, Catman meets with Green Arrow in Venice. They're both out of costume and on edge. Blake tells Queen about the mind-wiping plans, against the advice of those that he trusts, meaning the Secret Six. Queen accepts the intel, telling Blake that he appreciates him coming to the good guys. Then Blake decks him. Good guys? Good guys don't lobotomize their captives. This is happening because of what the Justice League did. It's on their heads. And they need to get said heads out of their own butts before the line between people like him and people like Catman gets too blurry. Deadshot slides in at the punch, keeping Green Arrow from drawing his bow. Once Blake finishes his piece, the pair leave. What are they going to do now? Deadshot asks. Catman answers. They'll get the others and figure that out. They can be saints or they can be sinners. Deadshot shrugs, annoyed. Let's just flip a coin. Obviously, a lot of this issue is violence and action, and it's pretty well executed. I like a lot of the pair-offs, like Talia and Scandal fighting, although some leave me wanting more. Deadshot versus Deathstroke feels like a joke, giving us no real reason why Deathstroke would take shots off her. Deathstroke is a consummate professional, killing is a job to him. His sniping of Cheshire at the beginning of this fight? That is great, perfectly in character. But doing a shoot-off with Deadshot is dumb and gains him nothing. There are 20-something other supervillains around who could show up at any moment to back him up, giving him an advantage against Shot. And why would he go closed quarters anyways? Deathstroke could have set up a sniper's nest at the back of the house and just waited for someone to come out. I mean, I'll believe that the pair could be equally skilled in marksmanship, but Deathstroke would have a greater edge with a sniper rifle. Deadshot's normally armed with wrist-mounted pistols, whose accuracy would lessen over a greater distance. The only way that Stroke would actually kill Deadshot would be with distance, surprise, or some form of invulnerability, and he could have manufactured at least 2 of those. And he has a healing factor, so he could have taken any damage that Deadshot dealt him, if it was minor enough, and still come back for more. Deadshot making the offer does make some amount of sense, though. We had Catman attack Deadshot from behind, rubbing Shot's perspective on murder in his own face. Here, Deadshot approaches his enemy head-on, like Catman would. This isn't just Deadshot making it up to Catman for killing his cats. This is him trying out Catman's way of things. Again, for all the differences these two have, the friendship forming here is really well done. The death of Parademon wasn't a surprise to me. Like I said, I discovered this particular book's importance late, honestly only a few weeks ago as of writing this. But it was a great character moment, and his final moment with Ragdoll was cute. I didn't shed any tears here, but Parademon brought a simple, charming wit to the team. He reminds me of Dave Bautista's Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy, just more willing to eat out of the garbage. The reveal of Knockout as Scandal's beloved also wasn't a big reveal, as she spends some time with the Six down the line. I like the trust that the two must have, a beautiful way of highlighting their relationship, given that we only get like 3 panels of them together. Remember, Knockout was guarding the Six when they were being tortured. She had to listen to Scandal's screams and do nothing. And she did. She trusted Scandal right up until her life was right on the line. That is some dedication and trust in your partner right there. Otherwise, I'm having a bit of trouble here at the end. This whole book has largely been about bringing the Six together and forming a team, a bond, maybe a very dysfunctional family. This works well throughout, even throwing in the Deadshot cat murderer reveal to test those bonds right at the end. Traditionally, that means that the big threat, which is the Society's army, should force the team to put aside their differences, come together, and at least find a way to fight back, if not outright win. That doesn't happen here at all, and it's just bugging the crap out of me. The six don't come together. They actually splinter, taking on various threats either alone or in their friendship pairs. There isn't even a scene of them reuniting after the fight. We don't get to see their reactions to Demon's death, or Knockout's being an ally, or being told about Mockingbird releasing them. The battle is mostly great, but I feel like we're missing like 5 to 10 pages of character stuff right here at the end. Almost none of the story elements that I'm invested in feel like they're being paid off here. Much like the fight, they all just stop. The epilogue featuring Green Arrow also feels ill-timed. It's nice to see Catman's letter pay off and Catman choosing to at least warn the Justice League, both about the Society's plan and their own arrogance. It shows us that Catman retains a sense of personal justice, but doesn't care what Arrow or the League will think of him now. They're flawed too, apparently only following the rules when they choose to. So why can't Catman and the Six do the same? This also ties in nicely with the broader themes of Infinite Crisis. The meta message behind this crisis is a bunch of Golden Age characters growing resentful of modern comics. It's a clever way of saying that older comics were better, filled with gooder heroes who maintained hard lines against their enemies. But as comics grew in popularity and their audience got older, the heroes became more complex. Heroes started crossing moral lines, so when do they stop being heroes? And the Secret Six are an interesting group to explore that with, as they are villains. Heck, I mean, they're self-aware villains even, adding another layer to their existence. But just as heroes broke moral or legal laws, so too can villains make noble decisions. That level of storytelling didn't really happen back in the day, at least not with early superhero comics. This growth, while I'm sure is problematic to some, allows comics to tell stories with greater depth and more well-rounded, interesting characters. And I find it particularly interesting that Luthor Jr. and his allies then break moral, legal, and cosmic laws in their quest to put things right, making themselves as tainted as the very world and people that they're struggling against. But the intro to the Venice scene, it says Venice sometime later, makes it feel like it's a long way off. And the Society's threat isn't gone, mind you, the Six just aren't in immediate danger. Or as much danger, I suppose. This just feels totally disconnected from the rest of the events in this issue, which were fast-paced, cutting from the Six to Luthor gloating and then back to the Six every few pages. Ending on this slow note is really frustrating for me. And it's not the only thing. I still want to know who bugged the Six's jet. Calculator implies that it's someone with a family connection, but we never get an explanation. It's clearly not Deadshot, Catman, Ragdoll, or Parademon. Most of those characters either have no known family, their kids were too young, or the only family that remain hates them. Sorry, Ragdoll. Which makes me think that Vandal Savage, the only character who's connected to the Six and the Society, would be the one who bugged it. But then why would he do that? The Six are clearly aligned against the Society, so I can't see him betraying his daughter. Plus, we're shown that his loyalty, if not his love, for Scandal outweighs the benefits of his allegiance with the Society. He not only leaves the Society in protest of their hurting her, but then threatens Luthor to save her. So I doubt that he was the one who bugged the jet. Cheshire would clearly be the best candidate, as she actually does betray the Six, but then I have more questions regarding her deal. The reveal of the end of the book makes it seem like her betrayal was fresh, as if it just happened, like she called Luthor and then the scene happens. But perhaps Cheshire was a traitor from the start. She says that her motivation for the betrayal was to get out of Mockingbird's control. So did she feed the Society the audio as part of her deal, but only went all in when Catman proposed his suicide run? She clearly has no interest to a fight to the death with the Society, so I could see it. I suppose Calculator's line could just refer to the fact that Cheshire is a mother, but that feels really weak to me. This whole bugging thing just seems very ill-explained. Before I totally move off of Vandal Savage's presence, let's talk about that. Because this is some weird, ill-explained timing. Vandal clearly knows that the Society is targeting Scandal. I mean, torture, right? And so Daddy quits the Society in protest. But then he comes back when her life is in danger, so why not just start with that? Vandal could have saved Scandal during the torture bit, perhaps even torn a rift in the Society by confronting Luthor then. Why have him wait? And why does Simone time this out like she did? I could buy Vandal quitting the society as a scene of just business as usual, helping to exemplify how this group of characters works. We get several scenes like this throughout the miniseries, so okay, cool, this is just a neat Vandal Savage thing. Then Simone reveals that Scandal is his daughter, which is a surprise twist to this earlier scene. Now we know why Vandal left. That's cool. But when he comes back to threaten Luther Jr., there's no surprise there. We know that he's against Luther Jr. and at least concerned about Scandal. So why the delay in reaction, Pops? And it's odd that a character who is so pivotal to the narrative, I mean, Vandal is the only reason that the Six aren't dead by the end of this, is such a background character throughout. We don't even get to see how he interacts with the society or what he gets out of their alliance, making his sacrifice for Scandal feel hollow. It would have been much more interesting if Vandal was involved in persecuting the Six, only to then learn that his daughter was one of them. This then gives the reveal more weight. It adds context to Vandal's decision and forces him to rethink his actions. Maybe Vandal is a tough love guy. Maybe he's cool with letting Scandal get tortured but not killed. I mean, he's a 50,000-year-old caveman immortal. I'm sure he has some unconventional thoughts on child rearing. The reveal of actual Lex Luthor as Mockingbird was pretty dope. I also like that the Six were picked for a reason. But then that leaves me with a question. Why was Fiddler on the team? I get why Simone has him, to establish the conceit that 1, any character could die, even a team member, but 2, that there's also little care between team members. But did Lex choose the Fiddler just to have him get killed? Oh crap, does that mean that Lex had Deadshot kill Catman's pride to drive him to the Six, giving him a reason to side against the society? Holy crap, dude. But wait. So Lex knows that Catman turns down the society. He's spying on them after all. He then orders Deadshot to dress up as Deathstroke and kill Catman's pride. Deadshot then returns to the Six, only to be sent back to Africa with Scandal in order to meet and recruit Catman. That seems like a really dumb move. What if Blake smelled shot cigarettes and recognized the scent then? Why not send Parademon if you're looking to provide backup to Scandal? Or even Cheshire? Either of those wouldn't have blown the whole point of manipulation at one glance like Deadshot might have. And really, out of all of Batman's villains, Lex goes through all of this crap to get Catman on the team? Jesus. Ugh, the guy's hot, but that's a lot of work for a normal dude with knives and a catsuit. I'm also annoyed that the Six were picked for certain targets, but encounter none of them. The only out-and-out Batman villain I can think of that appears is Scarecrow, and he doesn't even do anything. Nor does Catman ever fight him specifically, which sucks, because Scarecrow is a Ben personal fave. Don't tell me that the Six were assembled for a specific purpose and then never fulfill that purpose. That's frustrating as hell. The rest of my complaints are centered around this being a tie-in, which really can't be helped. Firestorm's appearance feels a bit weird and out of place. He shows up and disappears, his plotline never mentioned again. Did Mockingbird know that Firestorm had been captured, and that's why he sent the Six to that particular base? Was he planning for them to free Firestorm accidentally? And who the hell was the woman with him? Given his nuclear-based powers, I want to guess that it's Lady Quark, but looking into the plot of Infinite Crisis, she actually plays a role over there. That means the scene where Sinestro captures her makes pretty much no sense in this book. Did the Six free the woman who was with Firestorm? They clearly set Firestorm loose, but then he charges Black Adam alone. So did they let the woman get exploded? And finally, how does Luther Jr.'s story end? Lex literally just abandons the book, although he appears to go to Gotham. What was Jr.'s plan for the society? Was it just the brainwashing thing? Do Jr. and Lex ever confront each other? What did Jr. get out of his deal with Savage? Was it just his life? We've got one more issue to cover, so hopefully it will have some of the answers I want. Published 6 months after the initial miniseries is the Villains United one-shot, branded as an Infinite Crisis special. Let's hope for some answers. Remember back in issue 4 when we visited Enclave M, the super prison, and how a member of the Royal Flush Gang, their Jack, threatened the warden's family in the name of the society? He was to let Jack go, and when told to, open the prison gates. Well, that time is now. The warden, Daniel, is having his wife and daughter pack on a humid, rainy night. They can't call anyone and they can't wait. They need to leave. Daniel gets them on the road. His wife, Felicia, is scared, angry, and confused. What is wrong? Fingers gripping the steering wheel, Daniel explains as best he can. If he didn't do what they said, he's cut off as the front passenger tire suddenly pops. The car screeches to a stop, and thankfully, no one is hurt. Daniel gets out to see what happened, and there's already a tow truck behind them. Good thing this guy was right behind them, wasn't it? And don't worry, he'll find what did it and fix things up right quick. The other driver slides back out of the car and holds up a metal playing card. The Jack. The camera finally exposes Jack's recognizable face. He tells the warden that this is easy. Just open the gates when he's told. Ain't hard at all. But now that he tried to run, the girls leave with Jack. Gail Simone teams with Dale Eaglesham on this one again. Art Thibert and Drew Garashi inked this one, while Rob Schwager and Guy Major handled colors. And let me tell you, they all killed this opening. Daniel's frantic expressions, the moody lighting, the dialogue, the timing on Jack's reveal, it's beautiful. The lighting and coloring is especially noteworthy. The warm lights of the house are very small, framed in windows, a hallway, a bed lamp. There's not much hope to be had, but Daniel has to try. Then, in the car, subtle lights from the dashboard underlight Daniel's face, adding a layer of horror and fear. Eaglesham, Thibert, and Garashi pour on the inks, shaping Daniel's expressions, shaping the back of his hands as he grips the wheel. And the single full-page panel that is Jack's reveal? I wish I could get a textless version as a poster. Daniel sits in the foreground, his hair matted with rain, despair clear on his shadowed, backlit face. The truck light brightens up Jack's face, a smug smirk on his face. It just occurred to me that his right eye is scarred, making him a one-eyed Jack! Oh! And then behind him is the truck grill, detailed and dripping with rain. And the coup de grace is that the whole page has the design elements of a playing card! Hands down, legit, these are 4 of the best executed pages in comics. I don't care who you are, what books you love, what characters appeared in it, this scene is perfect. Great job all around. Great job all around. I love this. Let's hope the whole thing is that good. The next 2 pages are a series of panels that convey basically the same idea. The Society's various members threatening, bribing, or killing their way into an alliance with the heads of various prisons. It's looking like a jailbreak. While in Texas, the 6 are getting barbecue. Even Scandal, who actually ordered a salad, has a plate of ribs sitting in front of her. Ragdoll comments that perhaps that's what a salad is here while wearing a cowboy outfit. Loughton, or Deadshot, asks what's up with that. Scandal's the daughter of Vandal Savage. She's ripped men to pieces, but she's afraid to confront a waitress at a diner who got her order wrong? Scandal replies that perhaps she was not meant to be a warrior. Knockout leans over the table, asking Loughton if he has any other private, personal questions to ask. He does not. She then asks Catman to quit growling as he eats. Hunched over his plate, his mouth full, Blake apologizes, caught slightly off guard. I get the feeling that he didn't even realize that he was doing it. Then they get down to business. Blake and Loughton have been going back and forth between what to do about the 6. Are they good guys or bad guys or what? Then it hit Loughton. As long as they get paid, who gives a crap? This is one of those perfectly executed scenes that I love. Simone establishes who everyone is in the 6 in just 1 or 2 lines of dialogue, and then goes on to show how those relationships work. Ragdoll is the weirdo, Deadshot has no tact, Scandal is the reluctant warrior, Knockout is her protective lover, and Catman is more comfortable in the woods than at a table. This scene is only 2 or 3 pages, but it does so much to sell who these people are and what they mean to each other. In Gotham, the Society has gathered. Well, save for Lex Jr., who everyone still believes is actually Lex Luthor. He's a hologram. Calculator narrates the scene, revealing that he's secretly had Luthor tested for any signs of super talents. This guy is the main enemy of Superman. He was briefly president of the United States, and now he's going to tear the whole world down. How can one normal man do that? Calculator has no answer. When Luthor turns and speaks, you are doomed to follow. It's a nice little nod to Luthor's classic Legion of Doom here. The word is then given, and at Blackgate Prison, Arkham Asylum, the Slab, Alcatraz, and Enclave M, the Society makes their move. Each place is handled differently, but at Enclave M, Warden Daniel tells the closest guards to open the cells. He adds that the guard should warn whoever he can along the way. They need to run. This activity hasn't gone unnoticed, though. In Gotham, Oracle knows that something is up at Arkham Asylum. Oracle, by the way, is Barbara Gordon, former Batgirl. Barbara was shot in Batman the Killing Joke and has been paralyzed since. She didn't let her condition stop her, though. Using her advanced intellect, medical training, tech knowledge, and familiarity with the world of capes and cowls, she has become perhaps the best information broker in the DCU at the time. Oracle has worked with the Suicide Squad, assisted the various members of the Bat family, and even runs her own team, the Birds of Prey. Remember Luthor commenting on losing control of a satellite network in Villains United issue 5? That was the work of Oracle. After the last breakout in Arkham, Oracle installed her own systems, and something has compromised the facility. Oracle asks Robin to contact Batman, but he's off the grid. Robin tells Oracle to call for backup. He'll respond now. Oracle isn't happy about this, but she puts out the call, asking anyone in Gotham to drop what they're doing. At the Society's tower, Dr. Psycho and a criminal called Warp are preparing to leave. Warp is a teleporter, and they're going to the Earth's core. Psycho is more than a little nervous. Warp assures him that the simulator scores have been great. There's only a 19% chance of failure. Dr. Warp reminds him that they're in charge of Phase 3. They cannot mess this up. Having belittled Warp this entire conversation for being French, Warp then threatens to drop Psycho a mile above the country as they vanish. It looks like the tide is beginning to turn at Arkham when several alarms go off. There are 5 other breakouts happening. Oracle calls all of her agents and fills them in. The Society is observing their plan in action. Luthor's still a hologram. We learn through Calculator's narration that there have been some changes to the group. Black Adam is being used to power some kind of generator, having been betrayed by Luthor. I wonder if Adam was used to replace the lost Firestorm. Calculator knows that Luthor will betray them all in time, and ever since their last encounter with the Six, he's changed. To quote, as though the ever-present and seemingly friendly smile opened to reveal a body full of spiders. End quote. Whew. Is that because of the deal with Vandal Savage? His murder of Pariah? Or the loss of his vengeance upon the Six? We don't get any answers here, but one thing is for sure. Luthor's greed is going to tear the Society apart. Dr. Light, the supervillain who got brainwashed and started this whole shebang, has been added to their ranks as well. He's kind of a douchebag. Oracle, meanwhile, is scrambling. She can handle a jailbreak, but she has no plan for 5. Who plans for 5 simultaneous jailbreaks? She calls John Johns, the Martian Manhunter, who is a telepath and Justice League member. She asks for the League, but they are not only unavailable, but there's been a death. The list of the missing is long and includes some of DC's most powerful characters. Oracle refuses to give up the fight. She ties back her hair and gives John access to her files. They're going to invent the cavalry. Super people respond across America. It's a motley crew, there's no doubt, but at least there's hope. Arsenal, former sidekick of Green Arrow, pins a guy at Alcatraz and asks what's going on here. His captive protests, but does eventually cave. At the tower, Calculator informs Luthor that the heroes are stretched thin. Is it time yet for Phase 2? Luthor calmly tells him to paint a masterpiece. Arsenal contacts Oracle. This isn't a 5-part prison break. It's a global one. Dozens of alarms suddenly go off on her screen and she freezes. This is unthinkable. There is no plan for this, and all of the heroes are going to turn to her for one. Oracle asks John how close he is to finishing his telepathic link. They are outgunned and losing fast. Adding to the drama is the fact that John has never linked this many people together. But he does. The call goes out across the planet. As of now, everyone receiving this, they are the Justice League. Dr. Psycho and Warp rematerialize in a stone structure, an enormous spiky back to us. Psycho comments that whoever this is a pretty thing, yes you are. In Enclave M, Daniel loads a semi-automatic rifle. The guard from earlier, Levy, tries to rationalize their decision. Yes, their families' lives were on the line, and now they'll live, sure, but the warden isn't sure that he wants to anymore. And at another location, Scarecrow and a white-robed gentleman named Fortune are leaving a prison when they're greeted by the Six. A helicopter sits behind Catman and Knockout. The Six are here to pick them up. The plot lines run fast here, jumping almost from panel to panel. A villain called Nazi, is that his name? Just Nazi? Goes to Kahndaq and tries to kill Black Adam. I thought that Black Adam was off somewhere powering generators. I'm assuming he broke loose, because that's something that Black Adam would do, but, like, just in the time of this story? Like, from the start of the story until now? Does Calculator not know about his escape? The pair fight, Black Adam ultimately winning by carrying Nazi into the sky, and then just dropping. Oracle is struggling to both contain what she can and what she needs to. She finally gets the proper code to Arsenal, who's then able to turn the inhibitor collars back on while at Alcatraz. At Enclave M, One-Eye Jack appears to have killed retired superhero Diablo. Then a bullet passes through his art, giving him only enough time to throw one card. It passes through the throat of the warden, who bleeds out on the roof. In the Six's helicopter, Fortune recognizes them. They were the ones that the Society was fighting against when he lost half of his face. And that's true, a blast of music from Virtuoso caught him across the face instead of Catman. Knockout says that the disfigurement was an improvement. Catman notes that Scarecrow is awfully quiet. The Thin Man responds that he's thinking on anthropomorphic fallacy, the act of assigning human traits to animals. Catman smiles pleasantly. Is that right? Yes, Scarecrow responds. When a chimpanzee smiles, it's not because they're happy. It's more likely that they're showing aggression. Uh-oh. His nerves rattled, Fortune says that he isn't going to stay in this vehicle any longer. He orders Knockout to tell their slut pilot, who is Scandal, just so you know, to drop them off immediately. The next time that we see Fortune, he's contemplating the gifts he would have given the world if only they had listened to him. Buildings with wings and cars that run on laughter. What a world it could have been. We pull out from his face over a series of panels, learning very quickly that Knockout has thrown him from the chopper. He really shouldn't have called Scandal a slut. Scarecrow immediately releases his fear gas, but Catman is prepared. He shoots himself in the face with pepper spray and somehow it cancels out the gas? Does Scarecrow's gas get absorbed through the eyes? That seems like a weird thing for gas to do. Anyway, Catman dangles Scarecrow from the side of the chopper, getting him to reveal that the escaped villains are heading to Metropolis. This information is then given to Green Arrow. Apparently, Catman and Deadshot owed him a favor, and their involvement here is at his behest. So Arrow passes that information on to John, who then tells Oracle, and together they assemble an army of superheroes at Metropolis. They just beat the bad guys there, but the villains do arrive, Dr. Psycho marching in the lead. He tells John that the only reason he's there is to keep John out of his new friend's head. And that new friend is Doomsday. The assembled heroes recognize Doomsday immediately. This guy beat the Justice League. He killed Superman. The heroes are terrified. But they stand anyway, and they fight. Above it all, safe in their chopper, are the Six. Deadshot asks Catman if they're going to help, and if so, which side. Catman is quiet for a panel, thinking it over, and then decides on neither. They're leaving. They have nothing to gain here. Scandal tells him that they'll have to pick a side eventually. They'll force them to. If there are any survivors, he replies, he'll be happy to watch them try. The Six fly away, and the issue ends there. Having now read all of the Villains United stuff, I'm pretty invested. The next issue blurb tells us to pick up Infinite Crisis 7 to see how this plays out before moving on to Secret 6 number 1, so clearly the main thrust of this narrative continues onward. But as far as the 6 are concerned, we're done here. So let's break this down. While the 6's involvement is minimal in this one-shot, they're utilized well. The barbecue scene is great, which I covered earlier. I love the rescue of Fortune and Scarecrow too. It's a great way of utilizing the 6's unpredictable nature. I'm not too sold on our boys owing Green Arrow a favor, though. I'm pretty sure that telling him about the whole mind-wiping plan was probably a favor towards Green Arrow, not one into his debt. Or is there something that I'm missing? I don't see any additional references to Catman in Green Arrow's ongoing series, JLA, or Justice League Elite at the time. So if they do owe him something, I don't know where that comes from. The final scene of them leaving the battle is great as well. So much of Infinite Crisis' narrative was about the differences between heroes and villains and how modern comics sometimes blur the line. Simone even has Oracle narrate the scene, stating that the line between hero and villain has never been so clear. And there are the 6, literally and metaphorically above it all. While I'm missing context for a lot of what else is happening here, I liked the overall story and execution. I've always leaned more towards DC's lesser-known heroes, so this kind of book is right up my alley. The chess game between Luthor and Oracle was fun to watch, the ever-escalating responses on both sides. I loved the moment of Oracle tying her hair back, refusing to give up. That's inspiring right there. I am a bit annoyed about having missed pieces of the story, like why did Luthor change? Why is he only appearing in a hologram? What's the deal with Black Adam? When did Dr. Light show up? How do our heroes defeat goddamn Doomsday? However, given the amount of books that I would have to pick up to answer those questions, I'm okay with living with them. That's the double-edged blade of a crossover tie-in. There's always the chance that you'll miss something if you don't buy everything. And I'm just not willing to buy everything right now. I mean, I do have to say that doing all of this research that I've been doing to write this up has kind of got me falling in love with 2000s era DC. I like the idea of all the books leading into this particular crisis, but that's a lot of books to collect if I was going to do it. I still intend to stay away, but I have to admit, you have piqued my interest, DC. While a small plotline in this, I really appreciate Simone continuing to tell Warden Daniel's story. It's touching, it's tragic, and it's heroic. It's always refreshing to see normal people being heroic in superhero books, even if this time it cost Dan his life. I mostly feel bad for his family, who are unlikely to ever know his sacrifice. I hope that they get out of this mess okay. This Infinite Crisis special is definitely more Infinite Crisis than it is Secret 6, but honestly I'll take whatever I can get of the 6 from Simone and Eaglesham. We do see plot threads that originated in the United Mini, like Warden Dan and One-Eyed Jack, the Society's plan in general, and some small nods like Fortune's blasted face. But while the 6 are in this story, this isn't their story, and it definitely reads like it. I'm kind of in love with Oracle right now, though, so you best believe that I am looking forward to reading some Birds of Prey soon. This story is really either the Society's or Oracle's, not the 6's. It looks amazing all the way through, too, although the last few pages are tinted as if it's sunset, so everything looks kind of washed out. As cool as Oracle's lines about heroes and villains is, and as cool as that final page of Everyone Brawling looks, it's all colored pretty dully. The whole page looks homogeneous, making the brawl of characters fade together when the villains and heroes should stand out strongly to highlight Oracle's point. This is perhaps the most divergent comic in my string of pre-Secret 6 ongoing series issues, but I can live with that. Overall, Villains United is a welcome addition to my collection. Next week, the series actually begins. We've seen the 6 come together, run several jobs, get betrayed, tortured, and be beaten, but now they're free. Caught between the heroes and villains of the DC universe, the 6 are determined to make their own way, but it won't be easy. Join me next week as I break down the team's first book with the Secret 6 miniseries, issues 1 through 6. Everyone, there are a million podcasts vying for your time and attention, and I'd like to thank you for listening to mine. If you would like to get in touch with me, to share a concern, request a series, compliment me, berate me, whatever you like, send me an email at cbbreakdown@gmail.com. Otherwise, thanks for listening.